In this video, we'll help you better understand the mind of a sociopath and go over 5 subtle signs that can help you tell if someone is a sociopath. While no single trait indicates anything definitive, if you see these all together, it could be a red flag. There are people in this world who will manipulate, humiliate, and even physically harm you in order to get what they want. Because their brains don't work like most people's, it can be difficult to see it coming until it's too late. 1. When it comes to the mainstream media, they are insensitive. The most commonly highlighted characteristic of sociopaths is their lack of empathy. To put it simply, they are indifferent to the suffering or sorrow of others. It's funny how often this attribute is exploited for laughs on television, but it makes me cry every time. 2. Sociopaths have a strong internal drive to manipulate. You might not be aware of the frightening consequences of this lack of empathy. So here's a mental exercise to help you understand why. Consider your own life and what you would give up for something you really wanted. It may be a job advancement, a piece of property owned by someone else, or even just wanting to have sex right now. Listen to these 2 identified sociopaths. Whether your brain could not feel guilty if you didn't care about injuring other people to get what you wanted. Talk about that manipulative instinct. I have that instinct naturally because I am quite manipulative. Without it, I don't get the results I want. For example, if I come across a certain type of person or sense a weakness in you during a conversation, I feel compelled to pray for that person. If I have something I want, I will do everything in my power to get it. Not all sociopaths are bad people. However, because of their tendency to manipulate, it might be crucial to recognize whether you are speaking with a sociopath. According to the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry, 1 in 30 people are thought to have these antisocial personality disorders. Therefore, if your school or place of employment has more than 30 people, you may be interacting with a sociopath or psychopath without even realizing it. The first potential sign is that they can give off first impressions that seem too good to be true. Which is a strange one because meeting a sociopath doesn't come with a gut feeling of dread. Frequently, however, it's the exact reverse. Their initial impressions may seem too wonderful to be true, since they have no limits to how much they would lie to you in order to get your favor. Hear this man explain how he would get to know individuals in order to take advantage of them. When I talk to someone, I don't really tell them much about myself. Instead, they tell me about themselves, and after hearing that, I kind of create a personality for myself. I exaggerate certain aspects of my own personality to fit what they're looking for. Now, a lot of people do this, albeit to a lesser extent, when they meet new people. They'll pretend to be more interested in the things. Sociopaths and psychopaths take this to a level much beyond where most neurotypical people would feel comfortable. Here's a more heinous example from a serial pedophile with ASPD. They utter or laugh at jokes that aren't very humorous. He is discussing how he would gain people's confidence in order to exploit them. The greatest way to trick someone is to ask them what they want and what they need. Find out if they need money, help with anything, a car repair, grass cutting, or childcare. If you leave a first date feeling utterly enthralled, then you have succeeded in fooling someone. You could have just encountered the false charm of a sociopath. Of course, not everyone with whom you instantly click is a sociopath. Some individuals simply have very charming traits and create positive first impressions. Therefore, don't let this alone raise suspicions. Watch out for the following 4 if you've had an encounter that seems too wonderful to be true and you're not sure what it means. The look of sociopathy. The sociopath clue. Since sociopaths, at best, experience superficial emotions and don't become anxious around others. They don't feel the need to break eye contact, unlike most people. To hear Kanika tell it, here's how I don't break eye contact very frequently. I had to physically train myself to stop staring at people because it freaks them out. Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Tyrannos, was famous for her 10-second blink intervals. To me, this indicates that you've actually accomplished something transformative. In general, maintaining strong eye contact is a sign of confidence. But if someone is maintaining unblinking eye contact with you for longer than 10 seconds, take note, this could be a warning sign. Now, let's say this person isn't a stranger but rather someone you already know well. A classmate, a coworker, or even a friend. Because of their propensity for manipulating people, sociopaths may wind up receiving more favors from you than from anyone else. They will do this by starting small and working their way up to bigger asks. They will also lie to you and take advantage of your empathy. For example, I might tell her, "Oh, you know my dog, he got rushed to the hospital last night." We were there late until about 3 a.m. and there was this problem and that problem and that problem, and I don't even have a dog. You might think that you would be able to tell if someone was lying to you, but sociopath lies frequently go unnoticed for 2 reasons. First, unlike the small white lies most people feel comfortable telling, sociopath lies are much more detailed and grandiose. And sociopaths are much more comfortable doubling down on a lie when caught. As a result, it can be difficult for a neurotypical person to detect a lie. Because you end up thinking this can't possibly be a lie because no normal person would lie in this way. I'm not proud of the fact that I just left my friend there to be killed by 2 other people. I didn't mean to shoot him or anything. This is an extreme example, but it illustrates how someone with Asperger's syndrome is much more at ease doing what they want. Jodi Arias is a good example of this. Just watch the various stories she made up after her ex-boyfriend was found murdered at his home working with. Travis's house on Wednesday. Absolutely not. I was nowhere near Mesa. It was nowhere near Phoenix. Nonetheless, it illustrates how someone with ASD is far more at ease telling a falsehood and then telling another, without feeling guilty or ashamed about it, or fabricating a complex false narrative. I wouldn't walk in there and say, this weird person came up out of nowhere and shot us for no reason and just left. That's not a believable story. If I had done this, I could have come up with a believable story. It's worth repeating that most sociopaths aren't murderers, and many people with ASPD don't even know they have it. Diane Downs, the mother of her own daughter, even attempted to use the elaborate nature of her lie to prove she wasn't lying. 5. Their emotional responses seem off. Lastly, the last clue that you're dealing with a sociopath is that their emotional responses seem off. For example, because sociopaths lack natural empathy, any condolences they share will be learned and possibly robotic. And they lead largely normal lives, but you can understand why it would be so difficult to detect when someone close to you is lying. What I'll have to do is rationally realize that, yes, this is an occurrence that people usually become depressed about. So I'll need to come up with encouraging words to tell them, I'm sorry that happened to you. I realize that must be difficult. Is there anything you can do to help? I could do that. Would you want to talk? Sometimes, when a sociopath attempts to appear empathetic, they unintentionally show how lacking it is. In fact, this is one of the places where the show Dexter effectively draws attention to the writer's mistakes. While responding to unfavorable news, such as, I'm having intimate relations with congratulations, Paul has passed away. Well, a lack of guilt after hurting you is another emotional reaction to watch out for. Did you always understand the detrimental effects manipulation can have on others? No, I didn't always understand why people reacted negatively to it because, in a way, I kind of looked at it like a game. If you're dating a sociopath, this question can also lead to more dangerous behaviors like gaslighting and invalidating your feelings. Because a sociopath lacks empathy and will have a very strong frame. When they say things like, it's not a big deal, or, I don't know why you're so upset, or, you're overreacting. This is why it's important to maintain strong relationships outside of your significant other so you have people you trust who can reorient you. One of the biggest differences between a psychopath and a sociopath is that the former will exhibit muted expressions of empathy or sadness, while the latter will actually exhibit heightened anger. This is because playing a one-on-one frame game with a sociopath can be extremely challenging. Sociopaths are more prone to be impulsive, easily enraged, and to display severe levels of anger, which makes them more likely to act out in fury than psychopaths who are generally more detached and in control of all their emotions. This might have to do with the various reasons why psychopathy and sociopathy develop. It's worth noting that all of these things occur on a spectrum and that sometimes when someone asks you why you're upset, it's because your reaction really is above how most people would react. It's also worth repeating that no one sign from this video indicates someone has antisocial personality disorder. Any real ASPD diagnosis would have to come from a trained professional. The current belief is that psychopaths are born. It's in their genetic material. However, sociopaths are specifically created through trauma. In conclusion, I'd like to thank our sponsor for this video. This video isn't meant to equip you to diagnose people out in the world, but hopefully you feel like you've learned more about the mind of a sociopath. And little red flags will pop up the next time one does try to manipulate you. If you enjoyed this video and would like to learn more about psychology and how the mind functions, I highly recommend the audiobook Predictably Irrational. It will teach you a lot about the human mind and what influences people's decisions. Your logical mind has far less control than you may believe. It also demonstrates how easily you can be tricked into making specific mental errors and how to guard against that trickery in the future. I sincerely hope you enjoy this video, and I want to thank Andre, Therese, and Ivan for their tireless editing efforts. Thank you so much for watching, and maybe we'll see you in the next one.